You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Radio 1 listeners, thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show. We are here every Friday. I'm always excited to be here with you. This Friday is May 16th, and we are excited that we are approaching June, the month we came on the air, and we will be in our 16th year, 15 years for the Lyndia Grant Show, but since I did the Barbara Simmons Show for 1 year, I give myself credit for 16 years. So I'm excited, and we have been bringing you some wonderful shows, and I'm thankful that Dr. Julianne Malvo joined us a few years ago when Adrian Washington got sick, and we are just so grateful. She's an economist, a PhD, former president. I used to read her information, but I'm trying to give her more time to talk. So I just want to go right to her. We're going to have as our second guest this week, and I'm excited about that, attorney Georgia Goslee. She's going to be talking about aging gracefully, talking about us women in our 70s having a love life and moving to another country and food you can eat, and it's going to be an exciting show. But Dr. Julianne is going to talk to us about politics, and I'm sure you're going to hear about this plane from this audience.
Oh, my.
Dr. Julianne.
Yeah, you read my mind about this plane.
Yes.
The president took himself to Qatar. Mm-hmm. They said they would give him a plane because Air Force One was too raggedy. Mm-hmm. The plane they want to give him is worth $400 million. There is a clause in the Constitution, an emollients clause, that says that officers of this country cannot accept gifts from foreign governments. So even if they, President Biden, President Obama, you go to wherever, and people always give you a gift, they have to put a memo out, log the gift, and they may not be able to keep it. But this one wants a $400 million plane. Mm-hmm. What does Qatar think they're getting for this plane? Mm-hmm. Is this just a gift, like just a present, like a bottle of champagne for your birthday? Or are they expecting more? And I believe everybody who's talking about it believes that they're expecting more. Even more than that, this plane will cost us another $200 to $300 million to take apart because there's an espionage risk. So the plane has to be taken apart. Then it has to be retrofitted for various and sundry things, and then put back together. So this, they're going to give us a $400 million plane, and then we're going to pay another, let's be conservative, and say $200 million to retrofit the plane. Is this really worth it? The problem in all of this, however, Lyndia, is Boeing. Boeing has had I believe it's a $1 billion contract to provide two planes, Air Force One and Air Force Two, for the government. They have been very slow. They've got lots of excuses, and so there is an argument that, if they're willing to give us a plane, even lend it, and U.S. manufacturers can't provide it, what should we do? And there are many who are saying that as well. Shame on Boeing, because they are one of our biggest aircraft producers, and they should have been able to do this. Now, they say they can do it, but they can do it by 2029. That's 4 years from now. So you can see why this is, because, there are three aspects. Number one, the president, who doesn't give a flying you-know-what, he doesn't care. He still do it whether it's legal or not. And Pam Bondi, his attorney general, is going to make it possible. So that's number one. Number two, what do they get from it, and what are they expecting? And can they do something to this plane that jeopardizes our national security? And number three, while the president keeps talking about U.S. manufacturing capability, he ought to be looking at, we all need to be asking Boeing, what happened? Please explain. But speaking of planes, let's talk for a minute about Newark Airport. We've had a lot of challenges, lots of cancellations. They now say they're probably going to cut back the number of flights they provide by up to 30%. Their runways are crowded. Everything is full. The Secretary of transportation doesn't seem to know what's going on. But we'll be fair about this. This is not a Trump administration problem. This has been going on for a while. It's exacerbated, but it's exacerbated by two things. Number one, this administration has been firing air traffic controllers.
Yes.
How can you fire air traffic controllers? And secondly, they have not sufficiently recruited new ones. So there are a whole group of them, probably about 15% of them, who are of retirement age. They're still working because they like their jobs and they like their money. But any of them, any day, could say, oh, I'm 70, I'm out of this game. Or, no, you have to retire at 70 because of your eyesight. So I'm 62, 66. I'm ready to go. So we have a problem in Newark, but we have another problem in Newark, and that is ICE. They have built a new immigration holding center in Newark. It's called Delaney Hall. It holds up to 1,100 undocumented people. Ras Baraka and two others went to the place, went to Delaney Hall over the weekend to inspect it, to walk through, to see what's going on, because Mayor Baraka says they don't have all the permits they're supposed to have. Bonnie Watson Coleman, who is a 80-year-old congresswoman, I mention her age only for one reason, and that's because they keep messing with her. I saw the footage where she was literally pushed. They pushed an 80-year-old woman. And she's a small woman, too. She's not a big woman. The other sister, LaMonica, also New Jersey congresswoman, younger, she's in her late 30s, you saw her being pushed as well. Now, they said that Bonnie Coleman and LaMonica body slammed the ICE agents. Just not the truth. None of the footage shows that. But then these people, why tell the truth when a lie will do? So they just go around telling lies, just big lies. And Mayor Baraka was arrested. He was held for 5 hours. 3 congresspeople with him, Bonnie Watson Coleman, Lyndia, and LaMonica, the 3 of them, were all with him. They waited until he was released, and they made statements. They've been excellent with the media. But the fact is that you don't do that. What's wrong with you? You don't do that.
Just want to say Congresswoman Bonnie Coleman was 80 years old today. Her birthday is May 13th, which is today.
Oh. People shout her out, blow her up. But how can you imagine a woman who is an elder and an elected member of Congress being manhandled by those people? Mm-mm. But again, why tell the truth when a lie will do? The next big lie that's coming from that administration is a lie about South Africa. So today, Tuesday, I believe, the president made about 60 white South Africans refugees because he says they've been discriminated against. They've been, what else has happened to them? Oh, they've been discriminated against because of their race. People have been taking their land from them. You know?
Yeah, wow.
So they keep talking about fraud, waste, and abuse. They sent a U.S. plane to go get these people in South Africa and bring them to Dulles Airport. They were met by an assistant secretary of state who heralded their heroism. So they were heroic for what they had done in the country. Now, let's be clear. These people are Afrikaners. These are the ones who stole the land from the black people and exploited the black people. The new South African Constitution provides some remedy for people who have been ripped off. But these people are running around crying victim and saying, oh, they treated us so bad. Oh, this is horrible. And, of course, the president buys into it. One question I have is, how many of them are Elon Musk's relatives? Because, he is an Afrikaner as well.
Yes, he is.
So, is this part of his payback or whatever that he's getting because he purchased himself a co-presidency? Yeah, it's very, very consistent with what we've seen from this president and his ignorance. He doesn't want to know public policy. He doesn't want to know history. One might want to ask him when's the last time he read a book, even his own briefing book. But this is, right. To me, it's absurd. I mean, I was a South Africa anti-apartheid activist in San Francisco way back when I was a professor there at San Francisco State. And I've just never seen this kind of reasoning at all. It's like reality is unreal. History's so inverted that the villains become the victims. Like Shakespeare said, fair is foul and foul is fair. And these are the policies that emanate from this administration. Moving on, but you could strike a match on me and I'd sizzle behind this one. President Biden. There's a new book out by Jake Tapper of CNN and his co-author, and they're saying that President Biden's health was much worse than we ever knew, that not only was it his physical health, but his cognition. We've heard the cognition one before. They said that his aides were debating whether or not he had to use a wheelchair, and Tapper and his co-author interviewed more than 200 people to come to their conclusions. I'm not sure, I'm not sure how accurate anyone is. There are a few people have said, well, they didn't see any of this. Everybody's thought Biden slowing down. Guess what? If you get old enough, you will slow down.
Well, I saw him riding bikes and still walking. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't understand why all this is coming out now. I'm not sure how accurate it is. I mean, everybody has good days and bad days, and old people have more.
That's true.
Bad days than they had a year before. But this book is the actual release date is next week, so we're going to be dealing with that. Now, I know I'm short on time, so I've got two more things, and I'm not going to spend any time whatsoever except to mention it to talk about Diddy. His trial has begun, of course. His girlfriend, baby mama, etc., was testifying on Tuesday, and I believe she'll be testifying for at least 1 or 2 more days. It sounds like a harrowing ordeal that she went through to, how can I put it? It just sounds like she went through it to be connected to him with the beatings and the gaslighting and all of that. I'll just stop there. This is not going to be over anytime soon. The lawyers are now saying up to 6 weeks, and it could be longer than that. So let's just leave it there. But people are talking about it, so we got to talk about it too. But I want to end up with Monday, May 19th, is Malcolm X's birthday. Many of us commemorate the day because he was, as Ozzie Davis said, our prince, our bright, shining prince. And so I just want to say, he made a big difference in our culture and in our lives, and we are still appreciative. Now, I'm on my way to Grenada to lift up his mother, Louise Langston Little, who had one of those stories that we don't really like to talk about, but we must. The illusion of white supremacy allowed, when her husband died, they took away her pension because she had a relationship after her husband died and had a baby. They said that was immoral. So she had 7 children she had to figure out how to feed without the widow's pension that she ordinarily would get. What ended up happening is she was incarcerated in a mental for about 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Malcolm X said, white supremacy killed our family. The children were separated. It was just a horrible story, but she was a heroine. And so I'm looking forward to my trip, and I'll tell you about it next week. But I just wanted to take a moment to shout out Malcolm on May 19th, next Monday.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Julian. We look forward to hearing from you next week. We're going to go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired." But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it. Be inspired.
You're listening to part 2 of the Lyndia Grant Show, and we are back now with our second guest, Attorney Georgia Goslee. Georgia Goslee came to the Silver Spring area a few years ago from Baltimore, Maryland, where she was working as an attorney and a television talk show host, and among many other things. She's a world traveler and a lawyer still right now, and she's got a lot to talk to us about today, about aging gracefully. And she's going to talk about dating and all the things that a lot of us baby boomers may want to hear. Georgia Goslee, how are you today?
Lyndia, I am wonderful. How about you?
I'm doing great. So glad to have you on. Georgia has hosted my show sometimes when I would be on vacation.
I sure have.
And she is a magnificent host, because you heard me say she's had her own show over there in Baltimore. Georgia, tell the people what you want to talk about today.
Well, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of things going on in the world, and I have turned my attention recently to some of the not political, not legal, but some of the other softer versions of living in America at this particular time period, having to do with aging gracefully, traveling, living abroad, writing my book, things like that, and just some of the things that we think about as we begin to age and how important that is, and how we need to rededicate ourselves sometimes to thinking about those things. So that's kind of what I've been up to, Lyndia.
Okay. Well, Georgia, maybe we want to talk about first some of the things that people are eating that's not good. We can go to our attitude. Tell me where you want to go. We can talk about.
Well, we can always talk about some nutrition, because most people will say this is radical, but I learned about a gas in the body called nitric oxide. And nitric oxide, and I guess my reference would be Dr. Mark Hyman. He's one of the physicians that I kind of follow. Nitric oxide gives you blood and oxygen to your blood, which of course gives you more energy. So in order to get this nitric oxide, there are two things that I eat typically in the morning for breakfast, and this will seem very different. But if you combine these two fruit in the morning, you're going to get the benefit of nitric oxide. Well, it's really a fruit and a vegetable. That is pickled beets and watermelon. What an odd combination.
Yes.
Pickled beets and water. If you eat those two together, you will trigger a gas called nitric oxide, and that nitric oxide will give you energy by way of increased oxygen through your blood. I thought that was interesting to know, and the reason I do that is because I go to the pool for an hour a day at equinox, and when I'm walking in the pool, I will stop every 20 minutes or so and take a bite of a watermelon or a beet. That sounds a little weird, but by the time you're in your 70s, sometimes you need that additional energy to get through the pool, right?
And I think electrolytes is in watermelon too, isn't it?
I believe so. And electrolytes are super important because I do the infrared sauna in the morning, and many times I will come out and have an electrolyte drink. But when I heard about that for the beets and watermelon, I said, I'm not going to eat that combination. But, if you start it and you try it, you'd be surprised. It's not bacon and eggs, but the way you feel is if you're eating well consistently through the day, it makes it worth it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good health tip for us. Let's go back now to talking about how women are adjusting as we age. Talk to us about attitudes about menopause and dating later in life attitude, how it's changed, because it has.
Well, I'm just happy to have been fortunate enough to live to be in my 70s. And I'm going to be like most people. I'm not going to give the exact number, even though it's probably public. But at any rate, having lived so long and seen so many things, it is very interesting how things change, yet they remain the same. Dating, for example, when you date while you're young, when you're in your younger years, that's when you learn. And as you get older, you would expect, Lyndia, I said expect.
Expect.
I say you think you would have learned a few things. And perhaps you have. I'm sure we all have. But we find more and more as we do divorce work, the number of divorces that occur in America, I suspect all over the world, and I think about the detrimental impact that has on kids. I'm the product of a divorced family myself, but I think more and more as we live in these current times, particularly with divorces, that if the families could love one another and share more time together, if possible, to kind of give us a sense of security. These are some difficult times in many respects, but we're very optimistic as always. So it's a lot going on. And so Georgia, do you feel that at this age, if you are dating someone and you break up, do you have heartaches kind of like we used to when we were younger? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would fake it and say, listen, yes, well, we're mature women. We know better. Well, we do know better intellectually and academically, but quite frankly, they have.
But your heart is still your heart.
Honey, women are emotional. We are emotional. Does not take away from the fact that we're brilliant, strong, and can get shit done, but we're still very emotional. And because we're emotional, it does harken back to the days when you were younger, dating, getting your heart broken. But once you get a grip, you get a grip. If you can
tell them
your emotions.
Give the women out there, because there's somebody else listening that's going. Tell them some things they can do to get through it without chasing back to this man that you don't need.
Well, I think for most of us, I've had that experience. The biggest thing for me when I went through that was to make your mind up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, because I've been a lawyer all my life, I'm a thinker, and I lay it all out in terms of the evidence and the information. And when I look at it, 8 out of 10 things are bad. He's got to go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, even though my heart, my mind, and my body may yearn to be with him, you have to say, unless you're absolutely nuts, he has to go. And when he goes, then you want to go with him.
Mm-hmm.
You want to chase him and find out where he is and what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's hard if you know someone truly is not in your best interest and is not good for you. You have to find a way to gird up. They say, put your big girl pants on.
That's right.
Call it like it is. Bite your tongue. And you know what I do? I said to the women, be honest with yourself. Yes, I still love him. I would like to be with him, but he's not good for me, and I can't do that to myself.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But more and more, and it's difficult. My heart goes out to the women because I counsel quite a few women. Because I'm not judgmental, because we're only human, and we're just trying to get by. Everybody's just trying to get by.
Well, Georgia, from knowing you, I know you lived abroad. Talk to us about, you gave us some good advice for women who might have lost the love that wasn't good for them, and you walked away from it. Or they walked away from you. But whatever it is, that was excellent advice. Talk to us about living abroad, and maybe women who might take up a second career. How did you feel about that?
Well, I was... After I left Baltimore, I resigned from my TV show after my mother passed away, and I went to Florida and went to school to be a certified personal trainer, and then I moved to Geneva, Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a tremendous experience, living in a beautiful, quaint little town. It has a huge worldwide reputation, but Geneva, the municipality, is a very small, quaint, beautiful city. And to arrive there as an American attorney back in the 90s was a fabulous experience.
And how long did you stay there?
I was there for 2 years.
And were you working or visiting, or what was the call?
Well, I was originally visiting my son, who was living in Zurich at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I did get offered a position to teach international business law.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was doing that in Geneva, I got a chance to meet just worldwide people from Bahrain and Kuwait. The students were from Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. And it was just a beautiful experience. And then I moved from Geneva to Zurich, and from Zurich to London.
Mm-hmm.
Where I really enjoyed. There's such a difference in going abroad for 2 or 3 weeks and actually living abroad.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn a bit of different language. When I was in Geneva, I had to learn a little bit of French just to get by.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. I always wanted to speak French, but of course, when I got back to the States. And then I decided to move to London. Was just wonderful. I worked with the Society of Black Lawyers, and lived in London as a foreigner. So every 90 days I had to leave the United Kingdom and go someplace else. That was a different experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, Georgia, we're going to have to give a close. We already used up our time now. But you have taken us through a few little thoughts that we can take into our minds about dating, and you could even consider living in another country, even if it's just temporary.
Absolutely.
For some varied experiences. So I think that is wonderful. Give us your closing comment, and then we'll go.
Well, I would just say to everybody, just do the best you can to be happy. Do what you can for other people. Love yourself. Love yourself first. Mm-hmm. I see so many people who really don't, and particularly women who really don't love themselves first. They put everybody ahead of themselves, and they become yes people. Mm-hmm. Work on loving yourself, because when you love yourself, you truly can love others, right?
That's right. All right. Thank you, Georgia Goslee.
Thank you for listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on These Things with your host, Lyndia Grant.